Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and today my co-host Carrie Bennett and I are going to be making these complex topics of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable to the everyday person. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask that if you are listening on audio only, that you take a moment to leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It will help to get the show out to more people. And before we jump into today's topic, just a quick reminder to head down to the show notes and check out my free resources as well as Carrie's free resources. We also do have courses on a variety of topics. If you are hoping to dive deeper, Carrie and I both have practitioner courses available as well for anyone who wants to begin to bring these topics to their clients and help them to implement these strategies into their daily lives. So check those out. We also have a co-taught course called Quantum Fertility that is available that allows people and practitioners to work on their fertility using these principles of quantum biology and circadian biology. Again, thank you so much for listening or watching today's show, whichever one you are doing. And let's go ahead and jump into it now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. We thought it would be fun to talk about spring eating, fasting, cleansing, all of the above. So where do we want to start with this, Carrie?
Yeah, it's almost like a continuation of last week in terms of where we've made mistakes as well, with this. But I do think spring is an energy, and I'm noticing more and more, I've noticed this for quite some time, that during this time of year, I don't want the heavier foods that I've liked in the winter. I want light. Give me just by light, it's like greens, micro green.
Yeah, I made a bunch of greens this weekend. I'm like, yeah, this is
like
odd.
Butter lettuce. The idea of butter lettuce sounds so good right now.
I love that. Wrap that in a grass-fed burger.
Yes, I know. And so I'm really feeling less heavy proteins and fats like I would have, and the root vegetables even that I would have during the winter, and this energetic, more of the energy of spring. And other people are experiencing, it's the coolest thing in the community. And then with my private one-on-ones, because people are like, I've never been craving these before. Now all of a sudden and it's like, what is this about? Is this weird? It's like, no, this is actually, you're tapping into that spring energy. And a lot of that spring energy is more like
the lighter foods.
Right? Yeah. Because the spring energy from more of a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, you're talking liver, gallbladder, right? You're talking about bitters, purification, right? An opportunity where winter had its own opportunities for autophagy and fasting and things like that. It was heavier. The food was heavier. So liver, gallbladder,
stews,
and so now it's I find my body wants to go through a period, and I've done this now because I've been living this lifestyle for quite some time now, where I want to go through this period. Sometimes it could be 3 days, sometimes it might be even longer or even shorter, depending of allowing my body a natural opportunity to support cleansing, to support detoxification. And I think in this quantum health world, again, we say bad words because we're saying that you can also detoxify, you can redox and detox, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say, I think now would be a time to talk about the strategies that maybe you and I have implemented or supported community members through, and what worked, what didn't work. Where do you want to start there?
Yeah. I mean, I think the spring foods just is a good place. And then maybe segue into fasting. We can talk about different fasts that we've done, mistakes that we've made, and seen other people make also, because it is a really hot topic, fasting and longevity. And there's definitely a lot there. But with the spring foods, I've been really diving deep into this foods topic just because I'm redoing my quantum nutrition course, and I just created a spring reset program, and it's got, I think, 17 different spring recipes, all seasonal spring foods. It's an ebook that I made, and I'm looking for what's in season this time of year. And it's going to be different, right? If you're in Canada, some of this stuff may not be quite as seasonal to you as it is for me down here in Georgia. I tried to do broad, things that were in season. And it's a lot of bitter foods, a lot of green foods, using more like vinegar, all like a good high quality olive oil, and getting away from the
tallow.
The tallow. And so it was really fun because I'm not a recipe. I don't like recipes.
I know.
But people always ask me for them. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this recipe ebook. And I'm doing that in my quantum nutrition course for every season, just so people have like an idea of foods that you really want to eat this, certain times of year. Because like you said,
I'm sorry, I'm looking down. Oh, here it is. I was just looking through this book because have you seen this one? Have you seen these? I think these are two, I don't know, sisters, maybe. I'm not sure. Partners, sisters. It's called Wellness Simplified. Ooh. But they've got a lovely book also that goes over let me hear it. It just pulled up. Isn't that funny? Like seasonal eating recipes. And here's spring and all about spring and the herbs that support spring and the what you might be wanting to eat. So it's like you're looking at things like dandelion leaves, the nettles, the garlic mustard, right? Good. The collards, the arugulas, those types of things, and it's like in my area, it's going to be like the little tiny strawberries and rhubarb and asparagus and scallions and those one, scallion that like curl all over on top of themselves, and the chives. And I just find it, I find reading through books like this just to be so energetically refreshing and almost simplifying in a way too, to be like, oh, that might be why my body is asking for these certain things. And this might be a resource, and yours, right? Your course, right? But it's just, it's nice to have a guide like you're providing and like they provided here to be like, oh, okay, here's some ideas about what I can do with those types of foods. And that's why my body might be feeling like it wants to have those lighter greens and bitters and things like that.
I think people, and it's so wild because it makes so much sense, but I've posted about it before and I get the most crazy, forget it. You can post about anything.
I know.
And have 20 scientific references and people are still going to argue with you, especially on Facebook, but that's fine. But UV light grows the food. And what's happening right now, this time of year, UV light's getting stronger. The days are getting longer. So the food availability is going to change. We have light receptors on the mitochondria. We have light receptors on our skin and all over our entire bodies. We are essentially light beings. So why would we not want to coordinate our eating with the light as well? It just, to me, it just makes perfect sense. And it allows you, I know we've talked about this on the show before, to free yourself up from the diet dogma and having to be on a specific diet all year round. It's like you said, it's refreshing, it's fun, and you feel so much more connected, I think, to yourself and just to your environment as well, right?
Oh, totally. This question just popped up in my community today, and it was like, for me specifically, it was like, what diet are you on? Like, are you paleo? Are you carnivore? Are you
time? Yeah.
And it's like, I can tell you how I eat, but the things that I don't do anymore, I don't label I don't label what my style of eating is. And I don't count calories. I don't count macronutrients. And it sounds wild because I used to be, a data tracking fool when it came to those things. Yeah. But what I told this particular individual is I understand how kind of like my cravings shift with the seasons, and how those cravings are actually indicative of me wanting what's more local and seasonal. And so I say the best way I can maybe get you started on this is figure out what kind of local seasonal things are available, have adequate protein, and just start your day out there. Yes. Adequate protein, local, seasonal produce according also leptin plays a role, but do that first. And if I get that, which I consistently get that 28 out of the 30 days of the month, right? Like I am very, very consistent with that. And that the protein I'm craving changes. Like now it's more like
lighter
goat's milk, kefir, and eggs and sardines. Right. And
food, we made cod last night. It was delicious. Yeah,
exactly. But like if you start the day off, the lighter proteins, the easier proteins. And if you start your day off that way, then I find the rest of my day falls into place.
Exactly. That's what I got a question today on Instagram of like, what are your meal times? Exact meal times. I'm like, well, every day I have breakfast before UVA rise.
100%. Yeah.
Year round before UVA rise. And that's doable for me because the earliest the sun comes up in the summer here is like 6:30. So that's not out of, the sun's not coming up for me at 4:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, like some places, because I don't live in a super northern environment. So in those places, I would say you probably don't want to eat at 3, 4 in the morning, because I know we'll get that question. But for me, it's breakfast every day before UVA rise. And then the rest of the day flows. Most of the time I will have lunch and dinner. Some days I'll have a late lunch and no dinner.
Litter. I have litter a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'll be doing today because I just got busy with work. It's 1:38. We're sitting here recording. I got to go get my daughter right after this. So I probably will eat lunch around 4:00 once I get pickup and everything done. And I'll be done for the day, 100%. And that's not, I don't feel like I'm about to chew my hand off. My stomach's not grumbling. I'm not starving, my body is like, oh, we're cool. And it is like spring, and I feel a little bit, I've been laying out in the sun for a little bit. I feel like lighter, like I don't need as much right now. And getting all that sunlight energy as well, I think brings my appetite down a bit as well. So I don't, like you, I don't have like a specific diet anymore. It's bioavailable protein. My protein does shift like yours through the year. And seasonal produce. My fats change a little bit. In the spring and summer, I'll do more like a high quality olive oil, a little bit more ghee. Winter is more like butter, lard, the animal fats. And in summer, I might do some coconut oil or olive oil, still use plenty of butter. Don't get me wrong.
I do love butter. Yeah.
Butter doesn't go anywhere year round in the house, but it does shift, like the proteins shift, the sides shift. And I do feel a little bit more of an inclination this time of year to do a little bit of fasting. And it doesn't feel hard for me.
Yes. Yeah. I also feel one other thing that shifts and changes with all those, because I agree completely, is the temperature of my meals, right? I want hot meals, warm, hot meals in winter.
Stews. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas now the idea, like, I'm totally fine with the idea of a salad or like a cold protein. Like I could make an egg salad, and like have that, right? Like that
sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't really like eggs as much in the winter. I used to do egg bake in the winter, like quiches, but
I thought it was just me.
I have not, like, I'm like, ooh, eggs. Cause my husband will still make them for himself. And I'm like, ooh, like it almost turns my stomach. But now you just said egg salad. I'm like, ooh, that actually could be good. Some deviled eggs, egg salad. Like, and you think about what happens with eggs. Like, depending on where you live, some people don't have access to eggs in the winter.
Yeah. Well, I've actually noticed that about me now. It's been 2 winters now that I noticed that I go through a period of about, for me, it's like December, January, and February that it's like, no thanks to eggs. And then eggs start to trickle back in more end of February, March, and then April, like it's going to, but yeah, there is definitely a chunk of time where I will eat them because they're easy and fast. If I need a meal, I will do them, but it's not like where I'm like, oh, eggs, where like there's times of the year where I'm like, oh, eggs, So yeah, that's so interesting. And that's just fun little awarenesses as you're doing this. And I want people to start to think of, like, if you're craving something like greens, and we're not talking about craving for like Sour Patch gummies, right? We're talking about like cravings for like greens, or if you're craving a watermelon, or so like when you're craving nutrient rich foods, ask yourself, like, what could this be? Is this the season changing? Is it a particular nutrient in that food? And I tell people to honor that, right? And just to recognize that their body is connected to those seasonal energies as well, that their body is actually able to then direct their cravings accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I crave more, and we have them here. I mean, they probably don't grow where you are, but we have more like kiwi fruits. The strawberries are coming in, citrus fruits, limes, lemons. Those are like vitamin C rich foods. I crave a lot of those this time of year. My toddler ate 3 kiwi fruits with the skin on in front the other day. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
So yeah, it's more vitamin C rich, antioxidant, like there's a nutrient in that food that my body is kind of seeking out. And I used to no fruit, no. I did a post and someone said, oh, citrus fruits, that'll make acid build up in your body and this, that, and the other. I was like, if you eat something in a seasonal amount, the way that we're supposed to, I don't think that's as much of an issue. And if you eat a balanced macronutrient diet, I don't see that being a huge problem.
Acid is not because of acidic foods. I'm going to do a slight pivot on this. We're going to talk for one quick second on this, because this came up in my practitioner question, the Institute for Applied Quantum Biology, that Q&A that I teach with practitioners. And it was this idea of acid versus alkaline. And
that always comes up.
Right. And so we're going to talk about pH, right? And pH, the H in pH stands for hydrogen, right? It's potential of hydrogen. So basically the concentration of hydrogen in a given part of the body. And hydrogen is acidic, right? Electrons are alkaline. So if a pH of 0 is neutral, right? Neither alkaline nor acidic, right? Balanced electrons and protons, hydrogen and electrons. If you get more acidic, it is going to have more protons. Fine. That's great. If it gets more alkaline, so you're going to go, so I'm sorry, 7 is a neutral pH. So 7 is a neutral pH. If you get above a 7, you're getting more alkaline. If you get below a 7, you're getting more acidic. And so it's this idea that, okay, does the body have parts where it needs to be more acidic? 100%. I want my vagina acidic. I want my stomach acid acidic. I want the
stomach is a huge one. You don't want your stomach to be alkaline.
No. And this might be TMI, but I literally did a 50-page paper to graduate from undergrad on the pH changes and how that influences the vaginal microbiome towards things like bacterial vaginosis, right? Like that's an alkaline vagina is more likely to be an inhabitant of fungal infections and bacterial pathogens and things like that. So it's like, we can't just say everyone needs to be alkaline all the time. Everything is alkaline. Yeah. And so in my framework is, if I can provide my body, and we also view, through this quantum paradigm, that areas of inflammation that is proton rich. There is some acid in that micro environment as well. But what does that mean? Do I need to eat food to calm that? Or can I earth and ground and absorb electrons and calm it? You can, right? We see that before and after in earthing or thermographic scans all the time. And so it's just, for me, an incomplete and unsatisfying conversation to talk about eating foods and how much too many lemons are going to influence acidity in the body, when you don't bring into play things like earthing or sunlight on the skin and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. We always think of the only way that we get energy is food. And we've done a whole episode on this, but there are so many other ways that our bodies get energy to eat, energy to like run our metabolism, but energy to live. We get that through light. We get that through earthing. We get that through not just the food that goes in. And so I think that's a hard one for people to understand, because that's just what we've been taught is like, you need to eat to get your energy. Like I said earlier, I've been laying out more because it's been 70 degrees and sunny. So today I laid outside for an hour before we got on here, and I'm not hungry for lunch. It's like 1:45. And that was my lunch. That was when I usually would eat lunch, is right before we record. But today I was like, I want to go lay out in the sun. I laid out in the sun for an hour. I'm not hungry. Now I will eat later. I'm probably not going to fast the whole day, but I got a lot of free energy just from laying out in the sun. And I think that's a hard paradigm shift for people to have, is that it's not just about the food.
Yeah. Humans acquire energy in so many more ways. And when you play around with this, you will see that. Yeah. You'll see that you have to experience it, right? You have to experience it to know what it means to be like, oh gosh, I earthed and got sunlight for an hour. I feel nourished. Right. And so I guess though, you kind of alluded to fasting, right? Let's let's talk about fasting and the types of things that we've done in the past and what maybe we feel like has worked or what hasn't worked, or maybe ways to support this kind of this energy of cleaning and cleansing and spring. Like you and I talked about it originally. Like I did, college hunks is coming to haul out a bunch of stuff, right? That is kind of accumulated.
Oh, nice. I'm jealous.
Right. And so where I know, and so, but there is that energy in the air of like lightening and cleaning and cleansing. And so it might be our homes and opening the windows and airing things out.
Redoing clothes, everything. Yeah.
But I think that energy then can also apply to how we maybe tend to our bodies as well. So where do you want to start with fasting?
Yeah. I think that people get into like this mindset of it's good or it's bad. And that's where I think people get hung up, because I had this question in a message on Instagram over the weekend, and someone was like, but so-and-so says fasting is good and you should do 72-hour fasts regularly. And I'm like, it depends on the person. Do they have cancer? Do they have a severe metabolic issue? Are they very leptin resistant? Like what's
hypothyroid?
Right. How are they? Do they have low leptin? If someone has low leptin, I'm going to say absolutely freaking not. I don't want even doing 24-hour fasts if you have low leptin. So it's person by person basis to decide whether or not you need to fast. I have a cancer survivor in my membership group who's been doing all this stuff for the last few years. She's thriving. She's in remission, but she did, while she was going through cancer, do 72-hour fasts every single month. So yeah, in that situation, sure. For the average person, a fast of that length, if you're healthy, I think maybe like twice a year would be plenty. Yeah. I'm not even going to do something like that more than once a year, honestly, because it's
a 3-day fast.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do it more. Yeah. I could easily see myself, I don't do it monthly, but I could do it monthly or every other month. Because there's a lunar cycle when it comes to mobilizing toxins. The full moon, most people think that the full moon is just like, they say, oh, the parasites go wild. Well, the parasites go wild because your body is mobilizing toxins. There's a different energy, like metals and stuff. So I can see people during a lunar cycle like that going through, maybe not a true fast, but maybe eating lighter or lighter fare or more broth.
I tend to, now that you say that, because we just had the full moon, and I think last week I pulled a 24 right around the full moon. I wasn't even
it's the energy. That's the energy that I noticed there for sure.
That makes perfect sense.
And so, and again, it's nuanced. And can fasting be used as a tool to allow the body to repair, regenerate? Do you know, there's even stuff, have you ever read about, like what are called mono fasts?
No. Oh, I think I've had somebody in my group brought that up.
They're interesting.
Bread and water fast.
Oh no, you just
something about a bread and water fast, and then Dr. Sarah got really mad. She was like, "That is not fasting."
Well, there's interesting. These mono fasts are like grapes only or apples only, right? Like it's a mono food. It's
kind of like the cabbage soup diet. They make you do that, like only apples one day, only with cabbage soup. Yeah.
And this one is just like, days, like you can have 3 days with that. And I've done something like that before. And it's interesting. You too, it's like, am I hungry or am I truly hungry or am I apple hungry? Like if you're truly hungry, you'll eat the apple. If you're not, you give your body a little bit of a break to, and this is literally
how that would work though. Cause I feel like it would keep bringing your blood sugar up when you eat the apple, but it's already in such a state of ketosis from not having anything else and no protein. That's interesting.
And frankly, there's a ton. These books were probably written, now that I think about it, in the earlier part of the 1900s, but fascinating anecdotal studies and stories of this one particular nurse in South Africa who is using it to cure cancers left and right, and more effective than water fasting. And so I don't know, right? And so there are different modalities of fasting that you can apply with people, and so there's no one right way to fast. And I tell people what resonates with you and know the signs that your body is ready to break a fast.
Oh yeah. What would those be? Let's talk about some of those.
So for me, if I'm having a hard time sleeping,
I was going to say that. That's how I always like. First night would always be awesome. Second night, questionable. Third night, I'm up the whole night. I'm done. It's over. Yeah.
Right. Then another one there would be like, I start to get a more aggressive startle response.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like just kind of feeling on edge a little bit, like, it's like, okay, yeah, let me give my body some nourishment. Being really cold all the time.
Shivering. I would shiver. Like when I was doing 48s, I would start shivering on day 2. Like I would get really cold on day 2. This was back in my carnivore days. So I was probably already in a downregulated
you're already pretty hypo.
Let's just burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
Hey, I reversed it all. It's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cold, definitely.
Let me think other ones. I mean, just obsessive, intrusive thoughts of food. Right.
Oh, I would fantasize about what that first meal was going to be. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I tell people like, there's nothing, I mean, a well-placed 24-hour fast here and there is a phenomenal strategy.
Yeah.
If
you're not low leptin, you're not low thyroid,
you're not in a super stressed state.
Yes,
what I did one time,
I haven't fasted because I've had so much stress going on.
Sure. That makes perfect sense. When I very first dabbled in fasting, you and I already talked about this last week about the master cleanse, right? Which I don't, I don't recommend it. Cleanse. Maybe it works for you. I don't recommend
diarrhea cleanse.
The other one, cayenne is great for blood purification properties. There are certain components to that are
the
really
lemon
good.
is great.
Right.
The cayenne, maple syrup. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But what I did, I went on the all I was supposed to eat for like 10 days was rice and lentils. Have you ever done that one?
No.
Oh, I was like in my early 20s, and I was like, all I ate was rice and lentils. And maybe it would have, no one told me like with fasting, that's another introspective thing. Like that's a time to kind of like relax and dry brush. And some people like to do enemas or coffee enemas and, just chill, basically do some more meditation. Like that's a prime time for that. I, being like 23, was playing in like 4 basketball leagues, right? And I almost passed out in one. Yeah. And my body was like, nope, that's something's off here. I think I wasn't getting any salt or electrolytes or something like that. And I was just like, okay, well, this isn't going to work for me. Yeah. But because I didn't understand, like the fasting was a time that we shifted our energetic properties as well, not just what we ate or didn't eat.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've done in the past. The coffee enemas my husband threw away my Happy Bum coffee today. It's been in the refrigerator for a year unopened.
Okay.
He's unused. Like, are you going to do this? Why is this enema coffee in our refrigerator for a year? I'm like, just freaking throw it out. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do the coffee enema. I just can't do it.
Have you ever done an enema before?
I think I have. Yeah. I mean, with like the
colon hydrotherapy.
Yeah. No. Well, I have actually done 2 of those when I did a vegetable juice. back when I was teaching yoga, and we would do a cleanse with the whole studio with the teachers, and some of the students would get involved, and we'd have like daily meditations. And I did at the end of both of those that I did go and do like a colon cleansing thing. So yeah, I guess I have done an enema before that somebody else did the whole thing for me.
Yeah, administers colon hydrotherapy.
You feel freaking amazing after them, but I can't. I don't know.
Again, whatever resonates. I got people who
hasn't been resonating.
Swear by those types of
things.
I do
too. They love them. We want to talk a little bit about why we both use more red light therapy in the winter really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Come summer, it is so easy for me to pop outside for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, take the clothes off and just soak up the natural light, right? And I know you do. I know you do the same. And it's beautiful because we're getting all of those red and near infrared wavelengths from the sun and imparting all those healing benefits from sunlight. But come, November, December in Michigan,
there's very little opportunity for me to do that. It's just too cold, And so I'll go outside and get my light signaling through my eyes, but my skin really, that infrared and red that I want to absorb through my skin is just lacking. And so that's why I would highly recommend if you live in an environment like that, you consider using a red light therapy panel in the winter. It can be the biggest game changer.
Yeah. And we both love the Boncharge Mini. This is super convenient. You can take it with you traveling. You guys don't know when I'm recording the podcast, half the time I have it on my low back or somewhere in my body to mitigate some of this blue light. And for the months of November and December, you can use the code QuantumPod25 for November and December only to get 25% off the panel or anything on the Boncharge website. Carrie and I are both big fans.
Yeah. And one more thing really quickly with that. It's a great gift too, right? If you want to start getting people involved in this lifestyle and say it's the most convenient way, if there's a mom that you know who needs to tend to boo-boos and aches and pains for kids or earaches, tummy aches, sore throats, it's a phenomenal gift to give as well because it really can wipe away pain very fast.
I love it. All right, check it out. Link is in the show notes.
I read this really interesting book written a while ago that went over, I believe this was an Indian gentleman who was talking about traditional therapies, all the ways that they've used water to support the body that we don't use anymore, including an internal water bath. And I mean, I think that there is something to be said about the body may need some support in terms of what could get crusted into the colonic lining and stuff. But again, if it's going to bring you more trauma to do it, it's likely not going to be a healing strategy for you.
If you're mentally flipping out over it, then probably not good.
Right.
And I also, with a lot of those, what I see with people doing with the coffee enemas is like getting addicted to them.
Yeah, it's like a daily thing. Yeah.
And they'll even tell you on that website, I'm not affiliated with that company at all, but I looked on their website and one of the questions was like, how often can you do these? And they were like, daily. I'm like, that can't be good for you to be doing those daily. Like, isn't it wiping out essential things that your body probably needs also? Like I can see doing it every now and then, like in the spring to help, but every day. And
I want my own migrating motor complex and peristaltic waves to like push feces out of my body regularly. Right. Like I think that's an important, I think a lot of people have that pathway not activated. I'd much rather coach that up than have to rely on a coffee enema every single day.
That's what people get freaked out about when I tell them to stop drinking coffee for a little bit of time, which I don't do. I almost never tell someone to quit coffee, like almost never. But occasionally I'll have a client, I'm like, let's pull you off for a little bit and see after 60 days if we see your HRV changing, if we notice any changes. But people will freak out and they're like, well, how am I supposed to go to the bathroom in the morning if I don't have my coffee? Like, you go see UVA light.
UVA light and hot water. I mean,
hot water with lemon and UVA light.
And UVA rise. Boom. Big old bowel movement.
Definitely. It did. That was one of the ways I knew I was syncing up circadian was that every morning around UVA rise, I'm like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom.
And I got to the point it was anticipatory. Like my body knew it was coming, right? Same. And it would be happening like UVA rise would be like at 9 and I'd be having it like, 8 or something, right? Like it was kind of clearing the pathway before.
Dr. Sarah was with us when we went to my daughter's neurologist. She was here for that appointment and it happened to be at like 8:30 in the morning. And I looked at her, I was like, no. She's like, just go. It's okay.
I have no problem pooping in public. People have issues with that, but like,
I don't either. But we were waiting for the doctor to come in and I don't want to miss it because we had an appointment for months on end. And I'm like, oh man, that circadian poop is coming up.
I love it. Like clockwork. It's nice.
Yeah. It's a sign, believe it or not.
Something that kind of supports that whole bowel movement pathway, but also I think ties in with the spring energy is bitter stuff, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
There's like I think the company is called Smooth Generation. It's like an organic, really bitter blend of tea. I think they call it their bitter detox blend or something like that. But there's times of the year where I'm like, that sounds nasty. Come this time of the year.
Oh, it sounds good to me.
So
I usually hate tea. Like this is the only time of year that I will actually drink tea. Most of the year I'm like, no, thank you. But
bitter stuff, nettles.
I love nettles. And I didn't know nettles is actually like really high in potassium.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. it saved my adrenals when I was kind of like, didn't understand this circadian stuff. So yeah.
Yes, I love nettles. We're taking it now because everything is about to turn yellow here. It's pretty. We got some really nice, pretty blooms, but everything is literally turning yellow. So
yeah. I know. I feel for those people who undergo allergies, those intense allergies. I really think it has to do. Yes, maybe it's the type of pollen or whatever allergen that's being produced, but I also think non-native BMFs amplify it drastically. Or at least they cause the mast cells to just go wild.
Wacky.
In response to it. Yeah.
My daughter will get like IC flares where she'll just ask to go to the bathroom like 50 times in like an hour. It's just like constant. And it just flared up this weekend. And so we did nettles, we did hydrogen inhalation, drinking hydrogen, and nebulizer to just kind of like clear her all out. And now finally today she's better. But spring is really challenging for her. And I think it's a combination of just all of the pollen, right? And the change in light. I know a lot of people that are quote unquote neurodivergent, they will really struggle. I have a couple of friends that have bipolar diagnoses and they'll go manic this time of year, like actually manic, like stay up for days. It gets bad. The shifting in light, I think, also plays a part in some of the mast cell and the histamine issues. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think it can. Also, though, it just reminded me of a study on hamsters, golden hamsters that I talked about.
Interesting.
In my private community, because I was rereading parts of Arthur Furstenberg's The Invisible Rainbow, right?
Yeah.
He's got another book that just released in January that I haven't gotten yet.
He just passed away.
He just passed away. Yeah. So I was kind of like, rereading it, just kind of, just in gratitude. And a part jumped out to me that I hadn't picked up on the first time I read. The first time I read it was maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, like a long time ago. And I think, you continue to acquire new perspective, new knowledge.
Totally.
And I want to like reread every book that I have to be like, I'm certain there's something else that I would pick up from it this time around. But he was talking about how these hamsters naturally, in their natural habitat, they will go into a hibernation mode during a certain chunk of the year, 3 months of the year. And they were trying to study hibernation. And in the lab, they thought, perfect, we're not going to bring bears into the lab, right? Let's bring these hamsters into the laboratory setting and see if we can understand what triggers hibernation and all that stuff. The assumption was that it was cold and changes in light, essentially lessening of the light. And that didn't trigger hibernation in them.
Oh.
And they started to say, what are the other frequencies that we might not be picking up on? Is it shifts in the Schumann resonance? Well, there are some really interesting other frequencies that have a circannual variation that are beyond they're too small for human hearing, right? But of course we can pick up on them because we're these water beings in our biofields. And they started to track what the frequencies were throughout the course of the year. And sure enough, there was circannual variation. As soon as they applied the winter frequency into their cage, out. They were done for.
Oh, okay.
And they went into hibernation. And interestingly, this kind of ties into that whole manic thing.
Yeah.
They said, well, what happens if we kind of skip maybe spring and instead we apply more of like a summer frequency? They woke up just like wild and they literally ran around their cages for days straight. They wouldn't stop. They just had this manic personality that they had to shut down the experiment because they're like, there's way more going on here than we can actually understand. But I'm just wondering if it has something to do with, how you feel like that energy is in the air, or people say
what did my daughters say when we moved to this house? Oh, the trees here don't talk.
Don't sing. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll have to find you some new trees. But yeah, she picks up on that stuff. She's told me she hears like different sounds from different rocks. Like when we go hiking, like there's certain rocks that she'll go sit on. And so that makes perfect sense to me that somebody who has that sort of, I guess, I don't know, they pick up on frequencies different to what most people do would be so affected in the spring because she went kind of manic too for a few days where she was just breaking everything. And I'm like, oh no, because I thought we were going to do better this
Going back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better this year than it was last year. Last year, we had just started on the holy hydrogen and we had some bumps in the road, but it was better than the previous year. The previous year, we had our first seizure and we're in the hospital. It was a disaster. So last year was better. It was still rough. And this year, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. What's happening?
She was better after school yesterday. It was like something had shifted. So I'm doing the Life Wave. I'm doing the Alaveda patches on her because I've talked with
epithalin ones. Yeah.
Yes. Do you know Veronica, the health doll?
Oh yeah. Veronica Panagopoulos. She's my buddy. Yeah, I love her.
Yes. I was chatting with her over the weekend and she's really big into the Alaveda. And she was like,
and the pineal stuff. She's done some interesting work on pineal, like
decalcification. That's what got me into like talking with her. Cause I'm like, I want to try some of this decalcification stuff. This is really interesting. So yeah, she was telling me to do the Alaveda on my daughter. Cause I was kind of telling her what was going on. And she's like, no, with my people, like your daughter, I'm going to start with Alaveda. And I put them on her. She had a hard weekend. I put them on her on Monday morning. And on the way to school, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be a horrible day. Comes home from school, happy, calm. I'm like, okay, well, another tool in the toolbox, I guess, you know?
Yeah. I've used those epithalin ones or the Alaveda ones at night.
Me too.
On my right temple. And I've
been doing that too.
Oh, funny. And I do think I sleep more soundly.
I've been having some crazy dreams. The dreams are just like, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it tonight with the patch. It's like, because my dreams are too much.
And I dream earlier too. Like I used to, I know I probably dreamed during that first 4 hours of sleep, but for that was deep tissue repair, but you still go through dreaming phases. But if I happen to be woken up during that time, I'll know that I was just into some really, really, like you said, colorful dreaming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that is something it's kind of does some of the things that melatonin does, but it's more in a parceled out way, like the body knows how to handle it better than if you're mega dosing somebody with melatonin.
Plus it has that decalcification support as well. So like you're helping the pineal gland make more of its melatonin and then the metabolites of melatonin, including, what is it, DMT or things that might help you get into more of a lucid dreaming type state.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. Very interesting.
Interesting. And and I'm still at experimental mode with these, right? Like, it's interesting, but if enough interesting stuff adds up, it's like, wait.
Yeah, Veronica had got me into, she's done a couple of Zooms on them because she's into them now. And a cardiologist who is using them on people and doing like echocardiograms and showing the difference with, I guess, the carnosine patches. He's done some studies to show how the heart actually functions better with the carnosine patches on them.
I've seen that.
After about 30 minutes. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Because I was so skeptical about them, just mostly because of the people that talk.
Well, any MLM, because when you have, you've got a much larger following than I do, but when you have a large enough following, you get these all the time, right? You get people all the time being like, oh, if they're in my MLM, it's gonna.
That's why I didn't sign up under anybody. Now I wish I did sign up under somebody who could like teach people. But I was like, I want to sign up under someone who's going to leave me alone. They're not going to try to like, hey, we're getting on a Zoom and collect all. I'm just like, let me figure it out. I don't want to be told what to do.
And what I'm happy about with who I've signed up under is it's like, yes, there are some Zooms about, I think, making this a true business, but you and I get that already. It's like, we understand the business side of having an online presence or sales and stuff, but there's equally the amazing Zooms on the science. And that's where my brain is like, like this
that's what I like.
Stuff.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting stuff. But I did see that work with my daughter. So we'll see, but the spring, just to come back around a little bit. That's super interesting about the frequency.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's more light and then your body has a fluid shift because it's making more cortisol in response to the light. And so that's a fluid shift, less exclusion zone water, more histamine, more mast cell activation, that was where I was going. But
which
now,
is probably going around, which is probably happening too.
yeah, it's got to be involved in some way. That's why nettles and some of these things like Tulsi tea can actually increase exclusion zone water. And I think that's why they can be so helpful at this time of year as well. But yeah, I'm like, the hamster study. That's cool.
There's so many cool. Yeah. I think there's a whole chapter. Go back and read chapter 5. I think it's like Earth's electric envelope or something. I think is what it's called. It's
because Dr. Laura has done that whole
Carnegie curve.
Yeah. And I pulled up one of her studies. I don't know where it is now. I have like 7,000
Yeah, I know.
tabs open at all times.
Do you realize now so I still use Google as a search engine. It used to let me keep like literally 100 tabs open. And I think it like caps me now at like 40 and I'm so bummed.
I had Dr. Con. Oh, here it is. Practical applications of grounding to support health. No, it's a different one. But there was basically, well, maybe this is the one basically showing how the global electrical circuit, the Carnegie curve, the Schumann resonance. Yeah, that's the name of the one where you can kind of see how grounding can serve as like a secondary circadian reinforcer, right? Because everyone's kind of this time of year looking to recover from daylight saving time and then also the shifting in light. And I think people are still kind of a little thrown off by all of that right now.
100%. Yeah. And so I would say at this point in time, I think my body still is in kind of a less is more when it comes to movement, when it comes to that. But I do feel like my body is asking. Yeah, exactly. To slowly get into maybe more of this, a little more cleansing support is totally what I'm feeling the energy for right now. And the types of foods I eat, the bitters that I eat and types stuff like that. Interestingly, in terms of this molecular hydrogen stuff, there is interesting research about it, literally reprogramming the microenvironment of mast cells in the body. And so I'm just also wondering, like, there's a particular influencer, I'm not going to mention his name, who I don't listen to, but one of the parents that I do playground supervision with at my kid's school, he was asking me about molecular hydrogen bath therapy. You can literally get a hydrogen bath generator. Which I looked into. It's like,
said you could do that with the Axiom, but it would just take a really long time.
And wouldn't the hot water be?
He said do it in the cold plunge, because Dr. Sarah and I were talking about taking the Axiom out to the cold plunge, the Morosco, and like putting it in a couple of hours and seeing if we could immerse. Yeah.
I want hot. If I'm going to soak for a long enough time, I want hot water, And I mean, there is a company that does it, but it's like $8,000. And I'm not at that point in my life where I want to do that.
We're not there yet. I feel like I'm good on gadgets for a while.
Yeah. I'm fine on gadgets. And so if I ever want to do that, but I'm just thinking, like, I'm wondering if there is like this idea of, for Alexis, at least, if there's this idea, or anyone who's suffering from mast cell type stuff, is like that full immersion in hydrogen rich water and the ability to actually get soaked in and really help to reprogram and modulate all of the mast cells in that microenvironment area.
Well, I can tell you the inhalation has definitely, like I said, it's better every year. This year, it's better than it was the year before. Last year, we were using holy hydrogen. So that's not it's not as strong as the Axiom. The Axiom's like 6.
But it's great. I don't want people freaking out, right?
It's like still good.
It's still very good. But when you have someone who might need even
my daughter.
More, exactly.
And she doesn't like to sit for long periods of time. So that enables us to, sit for shorter periods of time and still get great benefit.
600 flow rate, right? So
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, there's the holy hydrogen is still a great machine, but that's what I'm hoping. And Sarah was talking about these people in South Carolina that are obsessed with nanobubbles. Have you heard of the nanobubble people? Mm-hmm. They have nanobubble baths, which they're basically saying it's doing the same thing as the hydrogen baths would do. Yeah.
Who are these people? I want to know about it.
I'll have to ask Sarah. She had a Zoom meeting with them. Dr. Petra introduced her to them.
Oh yeah. Because there's that one researcher who's talking about nanobubbles in the endothelial glycocalyx.
They're trying to say it's not exclusions of water, it's nanobubbles, and there's a whole.
But bubbles, have exclusion zone water. Like why does it have to be like all
one or the
nothing?
other? I know people got so confused when that episode came out. I was like,
yeah, it's okay. It's
doing the same thing. It's just people want to have a specific label for it. It's still going to serve the same function in the body. So
yeah. Likely there's a large component of both there. Yep. So
yeah. So so that's interesting about the hydrogen bath too.
Yeah, but I want to look up this nano bubble bath stuff. I've been bath obsessed my whole life.
Oh, me too.
I love bathing. I
live in my bathtub after my kids go to sleep. I'm in there for an hour. I know. And I oil pull. My husband gets really annoyed. He's like, you're not going to talk to me. You're just going to go in there and swish your mouth for an hour and lay in the tub. I'm like, exactly.
But it's earthing and it's infrared and maybe it'll be nano bubbles. And it sounds so nice. It sounds so nice.
That's what I do every night. Yeah. Yeah. But
what other spring? We're winding it down here. So what other springs? Let me think. Other spring supports. I mean, it can be as simple as adding bitters into your routine more, right? Yeah. Liver, gallbladder. I'm not a huge fan of those liver gallbladder cleanses with the olive oil and the Epsom salts and stuff. I have used the Remedy Link suppositories that I think are a very gentle way to do that.
That's another thing that's been sitting in my closet for a year.
Mail them to me. I'll use your suppositories.
I threw away my butt coffee. And now I'm going to send off.
Okay, so we know where Sarah draws a hard note.
This is not something I just don't want to do. I mean, I just can't bring myself to do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. And so that's exactly it. If it doesn't resonate with you, there's other ways, right? For example, TUDCA and phosphatidylcholine, right? Yeah. So that would be like Zeb, like right?
Yeah.
I love Zeb. Zeb's got a great product from clearly.com. It's called their F1 product, right? It really gives you some liver gallbladder support nutrients. So you're starting to make adequate bile again. And he's got a little protocol where he actually does take people through a bit of a cleansing process first, and you do a bit of eating lighter fare. And then, you just basically support the liver gallbladder that way, which I have found very successful as well. So,
Now, here's one thing. I actually got a message about this morning of someone wanting to know, do I need to go vegetarian this time of year for a liver gallbladder cleanse? And I'm like,
I don't think so. But if your body's asking for a temporary period away from meat, then listen. I have had one person who's just like, actually two people, saying my craving for meat is just so reduced right now. And I'm like, so ride that out a little bit and see. In the same way, if I'm not craving fruit in the middle of winter, I'm not going to eat fruit. Right. So I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with eating, like you said, well-sourced bioavailable meat, animal proteins. But if your body's asking for a temporary reprieve from it, then maybe listen for a little bit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I know it's hard, but trying to just tap into intuition and what is your body asking for? Like people always are like, what's your fasting schedule? What's your meal schedule? I don't have a set one. I'm like, today doesn't, I would like to go lay out and then I'm not hungry and it just kind of flows that way. And so I think my best advice is just try not to force stuff so much. And
listen.
Yeah.
And just see. Yeah. For me, it's the same way. It's like, sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, it's near the full moon. I want to do a 24-hour fast or, we've done dry fasting. You and I've done dry fasting as well, which is a whole different topic.
Totally.
Right? And so that freaks people out to think about that. So maybe now's not the time to go into that, but I've done, a 36-hour dry fast around the full moon, and those I'll plan out typically if I'm going to do something like that. But like you said, I'll eat a big breakfast. I'll have a busy day and I'll want to go for a walk or lay out or something. And I'm not hungry. Right. I'm leptin sensitive. So my body can use fat as a fuel source without it being
I think that's crucial to talk about. And when I say listen to your body and be intuitive, well, if you're leptin resistant, that's just way harder to do. Quite honestly,
both ends, right? Low and leptin resistant.
Yes, low and elevated. So you do have to do, because I'll have people, I know we got to cut this off, but I have people in my community that get right in. They're brand new to all of this. They're have high leptin. They're like, I want to fast. I want to do fasting. Teach me how to fast. I'm like, we're not there yet. We need to give you a baseline. We need to give you like 60 days where we're really bringing these habits in. You're consistent with them. You're able to do 3 meals a day instead of 6. Like, I'm not going to take somebody who's eating 6 times a day directly into a fast. Now, I know other practitioners that will do that, but it's not going to feel good at all.
Yeah. And there's other things that we think are more priority, like the light stuff that we want to lay the foundation. So.
Yeah. You're reprogramming yourself from just the light. That's huge. It's going to make a massive difference without you having to do something super, super drastic right away. So there's nuance to all of it, like we said in the very beginning. So
yeah, cool. Well, that's So I'd say maybe we'll after we've gone through the spring energy and we do different things, maybe we can revisit this topic to say this is what we did this year. So we'll see.
I love that. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.